Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance is a stealth game. After all, if there's no one left alive to say you were there, were you ever really there at all? Straight from the title screen, this game lets you know what it's all about. Weeb shit, katanas, and pure fucking testosterone. But I think it's time we change this game for the better by removing one of these 3 core aspects of the game, and I'm not taking out the weeb shit. I'm of course talking about katanas, more specifically, my utter refusal to use one. My ancestors hail from the highlands of Scotland, and if they looked down from me in the heavens and saw me using a puny, skinny, Japanese stick instead of a max strength build claymore, or better yet, the weapons given to each and every one of us by the Lord our God himself,
the only 2 I know I can always count on, fear and pain,
they would be disappointed in me. That is why today I will ask a question that only I have ever asked. Before we begin our run through hell, I need to lay out a few ground rules. We cannot use a sword of any kind to hurt or kill enemies. Using the power of mods, this shouldn't be a problem, as the mod I've installed allows us to remember the basics of CQC and use only our 2 best adult toys. Number 2, as the name of the game, I feel it is only necessary to play on Revengeance difficulty. The other reason being a gentleman by the name of the Grape Ape believes that this mod is not viable above easy or normal, and I wish to prove him wrong. Number 3, there will be no stealth allowed on this run, mostly because of the clap of Raiden's dummy thick cyborg cheeks and the fact that they do in fact keep alerting the guards. And finally, as an additional fuck you to myself, I am banning Ripper Mode. For those unaware, Ripper Mode allows you to slice through enemies like my ex-girlfriend sliced through my heart. With the rules out of the way, it is time to begin this run. Jumping into the first level, my confidence and libido were at an all-time high, as I consider myself quite the expert in this game. Little did I know that this challenge did not care about me or my Christian value on premarital sex, and in my first enemy encounter, I got taken straight to Pound Town. My asshole, now looking like I fell booty first onto one of those Walmart poles, I realized that Grape Ape might not have been exaggerating. But I knew that deep down, with enough determination and a lot of water-based lube, I would beat this challenge. They tell me pain is the best teacher, and boy did I learn some useful information from the hands-on learning technique of my enemies. Firstly, if you couldn't tell by Raiden's high heel boots, fingernails, and an ass so fine he probably does the downward dog on the daily, Raiden is an effeminate male. What this means is that not only is Raiden's testosterone at an all-time low, but so is his range and damage output. This was going to be a problem during this run, as on Revengeance difficulty, there are a lot more enemies, and it is very easy to get bukkake'd on by this ragtag group of gangstalkers, who are all determined to use their pointy sticks to lay waste to each and every one of my holes.
Seems fair that we get to ruin this!
You wouldn't like my body. It's all circuity and metallic.
Oh, good. We haven't been getting our recommended daily allowance of...
However, there is a saving grace in this run that will keep us alive. The perfect parry. Executing a perfect parry allows us to counterattack, delivering enough damage to the enemy's prostate that it kills most enemies in one shot. With Phil Swift looking over me as my guardian angel of destruction, I managed to get back up, fart the cum out of my ass, and beat the first group of enemies in only 20 deaths. However, I soon realized that making my safe word harder was a grave mistake. The next group of enemies really pissed me off, not because of the dying, but because the enemies learned that they could spit in my mouth, all while maintaining the COVID-19 safety regulations and staying 6 feet away from my personal bubble. After taking a few more ass poundings and partaking in some healthy coping habits... Alright, I'm getting a fucking beer. Fuck this game, dude. These social distancing anti-vaxxers were no match for me and my Sigma variant of the SARS-CoV-2 virus, and I managed to take them out with only 15 more deaths added to the counter. Next up on my shit list was this mass production Ava, and it was my job to avenge everyone's favorite 14-year-old pilot, even if it meant my anal cavity had to take one for the team. After a few more deaths added to the counter, I took a few pulls from my entry plug dab pen and did what Shinji couldn't do across an entire series and 4 movies. With Shinji still crying like a little bitch over his dead mom, lack of friends, and most importantly, lack of bitches in the corner, I knew it was up to me and my fist to take down this Ava unit. Shinji had taught me what 2 human hands were capable of, and applying this knowledge, I managed to choke out this 6-speed Fuckmaster Pro 3000 sex robot. Fucking finally! Oh my fucking god. After chasing down the dude who stole the chipmunks, I realized this Ava unit was back from my sloppy seconds, and so I indulged him in yet another anal fisting session. Splitting his dick open like a hot dog in a microwave, it was time to rescue President Obungus from the sus crewmates who had taken him into the vent. Hopping on board the pain train, I was now tasked with rescuing former President Obungo from these terrorists, who were angry about something called kunduz. Couldn't these fucking balls fit in your mouth? Apparently, someone prop spammed a little too hard on some hospital, and 42 people were banned for fail RP. But, thanks to that mass production Ava, and a quick pit stop to make sure Asuka was okay in the hospital, I was too late, and the knowledge of what Obama's last name died with Obama himself. After losing a scripted fight, along with a few unimportant body parts, I had finally finished the first level. Finishing the level with only 56 deaths was a surprise to me, and I was harder than my local priest on penis inspection day. For a brief moment, I genuinely believed I was going to finish this run with my mental stability intact. Thanks to the power of modern healthcare, my boy Raiden got himself a new ass and regained his anal virginity. With my new ass being tighter than a devout nun's nethers, I was ready for the second chapter of this story. The first group of enemies gave me no problem whatsoever, and I managed to take them out without dying. However, my newly installed virgin ass did not last long, and in my next enemy encounter, I was once again unable to sit down due to my prolapsed rectum. These rocket-wielding Taliban soldiers clapped my ass cheeks so hard that I had to get my friend Murray to hold my hand and watch while I was fisted into oblivion by these honorless rocket launcher fanboys. Luckily, between me and my friend's combined power output of 2 brain cells, we managed to form a strategy that would be imperative to our success on this journey. Alright, all we need to do is hit them.
I don't think this is the one.
It's gonna fucking work. This is the fucking one. I know it. No. After a modicum amount of deaths, I remembered our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ's golden rule, and with this newfound heavenly wisdom, I managed to return the fisting that had previously been done unto me and my booty hole. With this group of enemies finally out of the way, I reached Blade Wolf, the second boss of this run, and I was ready to screw this pooch in a quite literal sense. After having a Twitter argument where we mocked each other's intelligence,
Possess an intellect far beyond human reckoning. Pretty simple thinking for such a mighty intellect.
I have a superior intellect, making me the Chad, and you the virgin.
I began my fight with my neighbor's dog, who had refused to stop shitting on my lawn. Drawing in this mutt with some Skippy peanut butter that I had previously slathered all over my massive hog in preparation for this fight, I managed to give this dog the dicking of a lifetime, and successfully taught him to play dead on my first attempt. With my spirits at an all-time high from the peanut butter-powered fisting I had just performed on that Walmart remote control dog, I was ready to continue my mission. Only a few ass poundings later, and I was nearing my destination, Mommy Mistral's personal cream pie factory. Fisting my way through the factory was a lot easier than I was anticipating, and to say I was excited to take down the French dominatrix that is Mistral is an understatement.
I was wondering when you'd come.
Entering the boss fight, me and my fists were ready to take this mommy dom to Pound Town, taking down the first and second phases of her boss fight with relative ease. But it is here in the third phase that Mistral had had enough of my fisting action and decided to take me for a ride on her 12-inch strap-on and had coincidentally forgotten her lube. Mistral herself is not that hard of a fight, but I discovered that my 2 fists were no match for her S&M slave robots who each had 33% more fists on their bodies than I did. These knee-high machines of pure fucking malice held me down and railed my cheeks until I was begging to God to make the pain stop. Their relentless fisting, mixed with Mommy Mistral's dragon dildo she used as a weapon, brought me to my mental limit for the first time in this run. I'm not gonna lie to you here. The pleasure to pain ratio during this fight was 0 to 100, and I was beginning to feel demoralized and becoming a broken man. After 2 hours of getting my mouth filled with Mommy Mistral's salty surprise, the idea of quitting this run flashed through my mind, and I am pleased to say that I did not act upon this cowardly thought, and I pushed through the pain for another whole hour. After reaching my lowest point and consuming several more alcoholic beverages to numb my mind from the ass blasting I was receiving from this demonic succubus and her robotic simp army,
You have $10. What you mean to say is, I'm so irresponsible with my money, I can't support the entertainment that I enjoy.
Alright, you know what? Beer isn't fucking cutting it. I need to get something stronger. I need to get something better. Alright. You hear that? That is the sound of tonic water and gin. My mind had cleared, likely due to the copious amounts of beer and hard alcohol pumping through my veins. At this point, I had an anime protagonist moment and remembered that I was not alone in this fight. Using my phone a friend option from this fucked up episode of Cash Cab, and using the money I'd earned from pimping out my boy pussy down on the corner, I purchased some well overdue upgrades for my cybernetic ass. With some more health and the addition of the white suit, which gave me 10 health packs that undoubtedly saved this run from my endless torture at the hands of this she-devil, I was reinvigorated with my mission to fist every living creature in my path of destruction. Oh my god. This just became possible. Armed with my new upgrades and a boner lasting longer than 4 hours from the amount of drugs, alcohol, and Viagra in my system, I managed to take down Mistral and beat level 2 with 232 deaths. Fucking finally. Fuck you. After coming out on top during the Mistral fight, I had an epiphany. This run is supposed to take me, a virgin altar boy, and turn me into something even greater, an altar boy. But I feel I took the easy way out of this fight against the demoness Mistral. I was getting my ass beat left, right, and center for hours during this fight, and I got my rectum stretched to impossible sizes 111 times. But after getting those 10 health packs, I managed to defeat Mistral in my second attempt. This video is supposed to be a fun video for my 9 subscribers, 6 of which are my personal friends, and is meant to make up for the Lord of Masochism himself's lack of an upload schedule. However, I feel I'm doing his legacy of suffering for our entertainment a disservice by using these health packs to cheese my way through the game. It is for this reason that I have decided to implement a new rule for the rest of this run to further increase my suffering in hopes of pleasing Daddy Senza. Rule number 5 is that I cannot use any health packs during this run unless I die to the same enemy or group of enemies 100 times. In the event that I do decide to use health packs, I will have my roommate decide upon a punishment for every infraction of this rule. And with that out of the way, it is time to continue on with our fists and desire for maximum masochism. Alright. Now, before we begin this sewer level, I feel like there's something important I need to get out of the way. Rum and Coke. Using a convincing disguise I bought from some street vendor who kept calling me El Jefe, I snuck my way into the Mexican sewer system. The first enemy encounter of this quite literal shitty level reminded me of the pain I was going to experience in the near future of this run. These hulking WWE 2K18 creative characters were trained by certified tough guy Steven Seagal himself, and voluntold me to become their personal punching bag. Once again, the perfect parry was going to be our best friend for these fights. Unfortunately, they had a secret weapon that caused me a great amount of pain during this run, known as the unparryable grab. These testosterone supplemented alpha males would force me to mash my controller like a Yoshi main in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate mashes his way into Elite Smash.
Because he's literally for babies. If you like Yoshi, you're an infant. Oh, but I'm 30 and I like Yoshi. Well, that's it. That's a problem, isn't it?
God fucking damn it, dude. After mashing so hard my controller disconnected a few times, I finally managed to beat these gym bros. Beating up some more highly aggressive social distancers who thought they were safe from my Sigma variant, I made it to my homeboy George, who somehow speaks better English than the entire southern United States.
And just like all damn America, President! Me? What the rest of you do here? Rake and scrape for a bob, nah? But that mother scone don't put me on a ras boat!
These enemies, as well as the next few areas, perfectly demonstrate why this level sucks massive balls, especially in this type of playthrough. There are very few human enemies in this level, and 90% of the fighting is against these spongy, mammoth-cocked robots that can and will one-shot you. But, armed with a massive hog of my own, I managed to overcome these sewer-dwelling mouth-breathers and pledged my allegiance to the bag with only 290 deaths on the counter. This brings us to the main event of this chapter, the 4th boss fight against the robo-bitch himself, Grad. This boss fight is pretty straightforward on a normal playthrough. Counter his attacks and kill him, but God knows this isn't a normal playthrough. Plus, the added bonus of subjecting myself to Revengeance difficulty means that this shit is starting to get out of hand, as now there are 2 of them. For the second time in this run, my unstoppable fisting force had met an immovable object, and I once again went through all 7 stages of grief. Being locked in a small room with 2 giant Sister Fister 5000s was enough to make me cry out of every hole in my body, and I had just finished the Mistral fight. Already this game was throwing me right back into the ringer. However, this fight was different. During Mistral, I was determined to beat her ass into a pulp and catch that victory royale for the boys. But this fight had none of that. Hope and determination were desires of past me, and current me was having none of it. Fighting not only 2 robots, but also the camera system and undodgeable rocket barrages that slowly chipped away at my puny bitch boy health bar was causing my frustration to grow into a full-on baby rage. However, as the death counter kept climbing, my anger slowly fizzled into pure apathy, and I slowly began to accept my situation. After I died for the 100th time, I caved. I could have kept going and would have eventually beaten this boss, but I was so goddamn done with this boss fight, I couldn't even care. I used practically all my health packs and beat the Grad robot with 390 deaths on the counter. I felt no joy from this victory, but was relieved to be free of the torment anyway. I'm not even satisfied that I fucking beat that. Literally could give a fuck.
I knew I'd seen that guy before. Stephen Armstrong. As in Colorado.
The final group of enemies in this mission consisted of a social distancer and 2 Thor cosplayers from my local Comic-Con. After dying to them a few more times mixed with my apathy from the previous fight, I decided to do a little cosplaying of my own and dressed up as my favorite Space Marine, Master Chief. Now armed with an arsenal of rockets and a PTSD flashback from the beginning of this game, I managed to give these social distancers a taste of their own medicine and let loose my pent-up anger in the form of an RPG-1 rocket directly into the enemy's colon, finally finishing level 3 with 405 deaths. I was now in the US and headed for Denver, who according to some locals I talked to on Discord is a, quote, hick town with shitty beer and weather that averages about absolute fucking zero. Regardless of these claims, it was time to demonstrate the power of FDA-regulated performance-enhancing drugs to the police force of Denver. However, the Denver PD was aware of the various crimes I committed in the early 2000s and were determined to bring me to justice.
183-104.7, threatening a peace officer. Deadly force is authorized.
After disposing of the bodies in an undisclosed location, I made my way not even 10 goddamn feet down the road before being ambushed by more giant fucking robots. Thanks to my fight with Grad minutes earlier, I was well on my way up the slope of enlightenment, and these robo-bitches stood no chance against me and my anal onslaught. Grad had taught me that childhood is fearing getting spanked, but manhood is craving it. After thoroughly enjoying the ass tanning I received, I made my way toward the headquarters of Adblocker to give them a piece of my mind. Ever since I installed their shitty product, there have been no hot singles in my area, and I haven't been winning any more free iPhone 13s every time I torrent family-friendly Disney movies. 0 out of 10 product. Would not recommend. Also, I like having my personal information sold to the CCP, because even if your crush thinks you're worthless and says things like, "No, I don't want to crush your balls with a 45-pound plate," always remember that to Xi Jinping, you're priceless. After a rather uneventful jog across the rooftops, in which I somehow got run over by a helicopter, I made my way into the Shadow Realm, where I once again faced hordes of my favorite enemy in the game. Deciding it would be easier if I aggroed all of them at once, I sprinted through the horde of J. Cutter 2006 impersonators. However, these roided smoothbrains were unable to comprehend the cardio exercise that I had just demonstrated, and this caused all of them to disappear in the same fashion as my victims in 2003. Now only having to fight 2 Donkey Kongs instead of 5, I became extremely grateful. That is until I was reminded that these enemies fought by frequently using that forced me to mash my controller like a fucking child. Finally pulping these skinny hulks, I made my way back up to the streets of Denver and continued down the road where you'll never guess what was waiting there for me.
I just can't do it. I can't take this shit no more, man.
I was getting real goddamn tired of fighting and dying to these robots. But luckily for me, I'm pretty sure this is the last one I'll have to fight. Finally killing the Highsmith dildo machine along with the few of these Fix-It Felix enjoyers, I got myself another health upgrade which would allow me to take exactly 0 more damage than before. At this point, Jetstream Sam decided to call me out for my dex build in Elden Ring, and I realized that he was right. My ancestors would be disappointed in me. Sam had emasculated me by explaining to me that the only reason I would spec into dex or endurance is because I plan to run, and real men spec into a gym membership and level up their deadlift. I realized that Sam was right, and so I had begun taking extreme amounts of shadow market performing enhancing drugs. However, the shock of pharma-grade anabolics surging through my bloodstream had the immediate effect of making it impossible for my twink frame to run away from a fight. So slowly, I made my way toward the next boss fight, Mr. Memes himself, Monsoon.
My name is Monsoon, of the means of destruction. Free will is a myth. Religion is a joke. Memes, the DNA of the soul. Now there's a pretty meme. Exquisite.
I was born to fuck you. I think it's time for Jack to fuck you.
At this point, the roids had started doing their job, and I had the desire to kill something fast. If it isn't Monsoon, I'm worried it's going to be my family. I'm not even going to narrate this boss fight. The music in this fight slaps harder than Will Smith at the Grammys, and I want your ears to enjoy listening to it as much as I do. So enjoy this shitty edit I made. I managed to defeat Mr. Memes with only 3 deaths, bringing the total death count to 456. With that easy victory out of the way, I now needed to put the down in Sundowner. But for now, I needed to wash the blood and cum out of my mouth. And so, till next time.